Hello, everyone. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon if you're joining. I mean, from wherever you are joining our session. So today we are going to start our, final session in this series. This will be, the last module in this exam. That is AZ-400, and we have been conducting the session for last 7 sessions. We have conducted last 7 sessions in last few months, days and months. So we have already posted the YouTube URL in the comment box, so you can go there and watch all our previous sessions uh, on different modules. So today let's get started with this session. Now before we get started, just to thanks our community member. We will just share a few of the people who are working in the background. So Vipin Jha, he is Microsoft certified trainer and Azure consultant, as well as architect. So he's helping us with many of the background work, like content creation, setting up the sessions and marketing and all those things. Ram Murthy is based out of Bangalore, and he is also a Microsoft certified trainer as well as Azure architect. So he is also working with us, and he has conducted sessions on Azure administration in past and fundamentals. And in upcoming future, we will be having few sessions from him as well. Myself, Ashish, I'm Microsoft certified trainer and DevOps architect. So I have been hosting the DevOps series and will be hosting the upcoming developer series about which we are soon going to talk about. Shri is our another core team member who is cloud solution specialist and we're working with Microsoft Canada, and he's based out of Canada. So he is also helping us with all the content creation and many background things that is helping us to conduct all these sessions. Sanjeev, Sanjeev Panigrahi is a senior software engineer based out of US, and he has been conducting sessions, in previous AZ-400 modules, and he will be helping me with the lab section of today's session. Nitanshu, one of our another core team member, he's working with us in the background, uh, you know, doing all the content creation process, marketing, coordination between the speakers and all those things. And he has also conducted sessions on Azure administration in past, which you can find on our YouTube channel, or you can just join our Telegram group, and we will be happy to help you with the previous session recording URL, links. Kritika is also one of our team members. She is based out of Delhi and a cloud engineer. And she is also helping us with many of the content creation process and helping me, other speakers in arranging on the content that we are presenting. She has also conducted sessions in Azure administration in past. So and she will be contributing in the future sessions. Now this is about our next session we are launching. So if this is about AZ-204 developing solution for Microsoft Azure. This will be our next free training series, just like we have been doing Azure Fundamental, then Azure Administration, and now currently we are doing AZ-400, which is Azure DevOps. And next session will be on Azure Developer certification. You can register for this session on azureeasy.com/az-204. It will redirect you to the Eventbrite page. Please register for all the sessions separately so that you get the notification for all of them. We will be hosting, sessions in a similar way that we are hosting for AZ-400. So we will be, covering various modules, and we'll be talking about it in when we start this session. So you can go there on this website and you can find the details, or you can join our Telegram group, Azure Talk or Azure DevOps Pro, and you can post your queries about the sessions that we are going to host next. All our session details we post frequently in our groups. And of course, we have more than 10,000 members, so you can post your any queries there. Any questions you have related to Azure or Azure DevOps or any aspect of cloud, and our team members will be happy to help you there, as well as there are a lot of members who help each other to fix real-time issues. No, the next session will be, Sanjeev will be joining me for AZ-204 as well. Vipin will be also taking few modules, and Arun Pachera, who is also one of our core team member, is going to take some, help us to conduct few sessions in that series. So we will discuss about that as we will proceed. So again, this is, myself, Ashish, and Sanjeev will be taking you through different sections. I'll be taking you through for the first section of the session today. Sanjeev will be taking care of the second part, which is demonstration part of the session today. Uh, as usual, you can win vouchers, free exam vouchers, by participating in our quiz that we'll be hosting in the end of the session. So there will be few questions you need to answer, and then based on answers, we'll be picking few names out of all the participant, and we'll be giving 6 vouchers to selected winners. Vouchers will be valid to India region only. So if your certification profile should be based out of India, then only you will be able to claim these vouchers. Uh, another prerequisite that you must have you must have already registered on Eventbrite page of this session, because we are going to take common names out of which we will be selecting few winners. Winners will be announced in our next session and as well as in our Telegram group. So we'll be announcing the name in the Telegram group. So if you participate in the quiz, we strongly suggest you to join our group, and we will be announcing the name as well as we will be sending emails to all the winners. When you participate in the quiz, we will be asking your email address. On that email address, we will be communicating to you. The last thing, just as a community, if you find our sessions, our all these trainings useful enough, and if it is helping you, and if you're writing any social media post, please use these hashtags. These are the hashtags using which we are tracking our contribution, and then probably we share it with our Microsoft and other community partners who are helping us to arrange vouchers, to arrange all the content that we are trying to present and all those things. So it will help us to kind of share the message across, including Microsoft. Uh, the today session is going to be about DevOps certification. We have been talking about this, so this is a quick look on this certification path. So I will just quickly cover this aspect. So as you know, this is the exam that we are talking about, uh, AZ-400. We are covering all the aspect of AZ-400. Now if you can take AZ-400, but and if you pass, but if you want to get the badge of this certification, you must have either of these two certification. So you can take exam without having these two exams. You can take the AZ-400 exam, no issues there. But after having AZ-400, you must be already having one of these exam, cleared, or you must clear after that. Once you clear either one of these, so this is AZ-104 and this is AZ-204. So one is administration, one is developer. So either of which, if you have covered, and then plus if you combine it with AZ-400, that's when you get this certification badge, which is a DevOps expert badge. We have already covered AZ-104 free training series. So if you are looking for the training material or the content which can help you in preparation for this exam, you can go ahead and watch our training series on our YouTube channel. Uh, for this one, as I have shown in the previous slide, we are going to launch a next series which will help you to prepare for AZ-204. So in a way, we are trying to help to make you prepare. I mean, to prepare you with all the certificate. I mean, all the exams that is required to get you the badge over a period of time. Uh, okay, so quick look on the modules that we have covered so far. So all these modules we have already covered. This is the the module that we are going to cover today. Develop a security and compliance plan, which covers almost 10 to 15% of your examination. In this module, this is the agenda we are going to cover. The first thing that we are going to discuss about is how do you design an authentication and authorization strategy? What are the tools there that can help you there? The second thing we are going to talk about, how do you manage your sensitive information or sensitive information management strategy? So how do you take care of your secrets? What are the tools? What are the features that are available there, which can help you to manage your secrets in the environment? And then we will be talking about security and compliance. So how do you make sure that your enterprise is always compliant, always secure? How do you maintain all those things? And we'll be talking about some of the tools available there. And then we'll be talking about governance enforcement mechanism, that what are the settings, what are the things are there which can help you to enforce all these things to govern your cloud infrastructure. So let's get started with the first thing, which is design and authentication authorization strategy. When you talk about authentication and authorization in the Azure, the first thing which comes into picture is Azure AD. So Azure AD is one of the tool, Azure Active Directory, which is a identity management tool which helps you to authenticate and authorize people in your cloud environment. It has a service which is called Azure AD Privileged Identity Management. So privileged identity management improve your identity management system, on a very high level where you can define the time bound privilege identity management. So what does it mean? That suppose you have you have few users who are kind of a privileged user. So those privileged user can activate their privilege access for a particular time period. What it does is it helps you to kind of maintain the access in a period and then expire that access, and then they have to renew it further. So that way you can actually your organization super users can make sure that their identity are not having the super user access all the time. It also helps you to get you the just in time access. So just in time access means that as soon as you need access, as soon as you need some privilege access or permission, you get it. So by default, you don't have access. The moment you need it, you just need to activate that by using some kind of mechanism such as multi-factor authentication or something like that. And that way, your just in time uh, access will be enabled, and that is part of privileged identity management, which is part of Azure AD, which needs a particular license, P2 license there. But it is one of the privilege, one of the identity system which has this privileged identity management, which can help you with that. The next thing which is there is Azure AD conditional access. So conditional access enables you in your organization that you can kind of set up uh, a kind of a flow where you can say if if some condition, then it should happen. For example, if a user is a part of a company, if user company is equals to some company ABC, then ask for MFA. Like they have to authenticate using multi-factor authentication. What is multi-factor authentication? Multi-factor authentication helps you to set up a multiple layer of authentication. What it is that you must have seen that when you log into your organization account, in some of the organization, you might see that they ask you to install some software on your system, on your mobile, app or on your device, and you need to approve or you need to add certain things from there so that you can access, you can log in. So despite providing your password, you have to cross the another layer to get into the system. Similarly, sometimes people can set up a secret question. Sometimes people can set up a secret or temporary token kind of thing, OTP or something like that, one-time password or something. Or in terms of Azure, there is a there is a mobile app which can be installed on a mobile device, and then it will prompt you to approve it on your mobile device, and then you can authenticate. So multi-factor authentication, so you can set up a conditional thing using this Azure AD conditional access, which enables you to prompt user to kind of go through a additional check. So it can be multi-factor authentication, or it can be reset your password. So suppose user is qualifying into a particular category, you want them to you want them to reset their password first, then only proceed. So all these kind of conditional access can be enabled to kind of add more layers of security into your system, so that it is more secure in your in your organization. This is the way you can authenticate and authorize in a very secure manner, and Azure AD helps you. And some of these uh, important properties or features helps you achieving that. The next thing is that when you have the authentication system, you need to organize your teams, organize your your users. In that aspect, the first thing which comes into picture is Azure AD groups. So you can add people, you can create groups of a certain organization, certain team, developers, administrator, exchange admins, exchange analytics team, engineering team, product engineering team, product support team. Such kind of groups you can create, and then you can associate those groups with the permissions, so that your governance will be very easy. You can provide the permissions appropriate to group, and then you don't really manage the permissions on the each user level. So you don't really have to assign permissions on users. Whenever you think that okay, some person joins in product engineering team or product support team and he needs certain type of access, then all you need to do is you create a group, you provide those permissions to that group, and that group will any person who supposed to be having those permissions will be added to that group, and they can have those permissions automatically. So this is one of the, if you are already working in Azure AD, it is going to help you with that. Now talking about DevOps, Azure DevOps also has groups, and it also integrate well with Azure AD. So you can combine Azure AD groups and Azure AD, Azure DevOps groups, and you can, define permissions of the Azure DevOps for your Azure AD users. And that way you have a centralized Azure AD system for defining all the permissions, including Azure DevOps. So Azure DevOps also has inbuilt groups. You can, of course, without having to use Azure AD, you can define all the permissions, all the access in Azure, Azure DevOps if at all needed. But it is always recommended that when you go on the enterprise scale, you integrate your Azure AD, Azure Active Directory with Azure DevOps, which is a supported combination. And that way you can you can use all the nice and great features of Azure AD from the security point of view, multi-factor authentication, conditional access, Azure AD groups, all those things combined with Azure DevOps. And of course, when you talk about groups, when you talk about these tools, you need to look at the permissions. One more thing which is there in Azure DevOps, which is Azure DevOps project team. So when you create an Azure DevOps project, when you create a Azure DevOps project in Azure DevOps organization, you get some default team. Those team also can define the boundary of the team members. So we have seen, in our first session, we have, we had the lab of this particular aspect where we created teams, and then we kind of demonstrated the agile framework, how the team works in agile framework using Azure DevOps. So if you can refer the first session there, but the idea of the team here is, there we discussed about planning, here we are talking about security. So you can define the permissions on the team level, you can define the access the team members can have. So in terms of Azure DevOps, you can define, okay, this team members cannot do code level changes, and you can define all those things where you can allow certain things related to code. They can read the code, but they cannot write, they cannot create a commit or something like that. Similarly, you can define their permission in terms of pipelines, in terms of Azure Artifact, in terms of other services in Azure DevOps. So this is also a way to organize your team in Azure DevOps. And when you integrate with Azure AD, then you get a good combination of authentication and uh, authorization in this ecosystem. When you have Azure AD or any other system, and when you are building pipelines on Azure DevOps or other pipeline tools or any other system, then you need a connectivity between them, right? You need to have the connection, you need to have the establishment of connection. One of the way you can connect with is using service principal. So you can create service principals in Azure AD. There is a way to create service principal in Azure AD, and then you can provide permissions to that service principal, right? And then that can help you to connect with other services. So suppose you have a third party system such as Jenkins or some other services, and you want to connect with a resource in Azure. So you can create a service principal in Azure AD. You can provide permissions to that, to that particular service principal in Azure AD. And then on the other side, such as Jenkins or Azure DevOps, you provide that service principal instead of user ID or something. And then that service principal will be establishing the connectivity between one system and another system, that is Azure. And in this side, this can be Azure DevOps. This can be done. Similarly, there is another feature in Azure which is called managed identity, which is very much similar to service principal, but it is little bit different than it in terms of word managed. When you create a service principal in Azure AD, all right, when you create a service principal in Azure AD, you have to maintain the life cycle of this particular service principal. What do we mean by life cycle? That means when you create a service principal for having a particular type of resource access, and suppose that resource is not valid anymore. So for example, let me clear it. So I have created a service principal for accessing a Azure VM. This is the service principal I have created, and this service principal has some permissions to access this Azure VM, including network, including some key vault, okay, and some other service, some other resources. It can be whatever. Now I have created the service principal. Now over period, this Azure VM is not valid anymore. It has been deleted, it has been decommissioned, it has been, it has been replaced with a PaaS service or whatsoever. This infrastructure has been kind of destroyed or replaced or whatsoever has been done. Now this will be deleted, but your service principal will still exist in the infrastructure. You have to manually delete that particular thing. When you manually delete that, then only it goes away. Until then, it will still reside in your Active Directory, and can be considered as a security vulnerability or threat or something which can leak some information. If someone gets hand of this particular service principal, they might be able to misuse it if at all, some way, because it is not needed anymore, but it is still exists in Azure AD. That is one of the thing which is kind of a technical depth you can think of. It is still there. Why it is there? But in case of managed identity, when you create a managed identity, it also gives you a way to access certain things like Azure VM or storage account or something like that, but it gets associated with that particular resource. So what do we mean by get associated with that particular resource is that as long as this VM exists, this managed identity will exist. The moment I will replace, decommission, delete, or whatsoever I will do in a way that it is not valid anymore, this managed identity will be deleted along with that. So it is managed in a way, it is taken care. I don't really have to define a separate process to manage it, and that's why it is called managed identity, and that's why it is preferred way of connecting with resources in Azure. Service principle is still being used, but it used to be, the preferred way in previously. Now, by the launch of managed identity, this is this is one of the best way to use that connectivity with Azure resources. Any Azure resources, if it supports managed identity. Some of the resources might not support because this is comparatively new service, new feature. The next thing is configure service connection. Now Azure DevOps gives you, this is specific to Azure DevOps. Azure DevOps gives you a way to connect to other services such as Azure. Azure is one of the primary example because many of the examples we have been doing, we are connecting with Azure to deploy certain things in Azure. Now, but apart from Azure, you can connect with other services such as Bitbucket, Jenkins, GitHub, any other service which you are going to use along with your Azure DevOps in terms of any need. You might be connecting with Jenkins to run a pipeline. You might be connecting to GitHub to get a code, repository from GitHub. You might be connecting to SonarQube for getting a code scanning process. We are going to talk about that in next upcoming slides. You might be connecting to some other third-party services. For that, Azure DevOps does have a service connection option. You go there, there will be list of services which are supported for service connection. You click on it, it shows you a very user-friendly graphical user interface wizard. You just need to click on it. You need to provide the authentication details for respective service. If it is Azure, then you need to provide the Azure Connect, Azure authentication. If it is something else, then you need to provide some other authentication information. And then if you have a valid authentication information, it will connect that service with Azure. And then depending upon the service type, depending upon the usability, you will be able to use that service in respective places. For example, if it is Jenkins, then probably during some pipeline, you will be needing it. If it is Sonar Cloud or SonarQube, you will be needing it during the code scanning process. If it is Azure, then you might be needing it during the continuous deployment process where you will be releasing or will be deploying your code, your uploaded code to a web app, to a Azure VM or some other services. So different service connection, different users. The next section talks about security in terms of sensitive information. How do you handle the sensitive information in your infrastructure? The first thing which comes into picture if you're talking about Azure is Azure Key Vault. Azure Key Vault is a service which helps you to store secret information in the Azure. So secret information such as, suppose you have a connection string in your web application, or you might be having a password that, or a API key or any kind of secret information that you supposed to access during pipeline. It can be DevOps pipeline. So when you build your artifact, when you're running your pipeline, you need some secret information that needs to be added into your application artifact, or that needs to be that needs to be available during the testing or during the deployment. That thing you can access using key vault in a very secure way. So your secret will be stored here in an encrypted format in Azure Key Vault, and your pipeline is calling it and getting it back into the pipeline and doing stuff here in a very secure way. No one can see what exactly it's there, any kind of what password is that and all those things. And even the CI/CD pipeline administrator would not be able to see. It will be like masked for the users. It is only available in the process. So you can use Azure Key Vault to host your secrets such as secret passwords, certificates, keys. Azure Key Vault can also keep your encryption keys that you can use to encrypt certain things in Azure resources, such as if you are encrypting your Azure database, Azure SQL database with a custom key, then you can host your key in Azure Key Vault and you can refer that key in the Azure SQL to mask it, to encrypt it. Or you can store the secret information such as certificate or secret information in text format such as password, API key and all in the Azure Key Vault secrets. When a resource needs access from Azure Key Vault, you need to explicitly provide the permission. It is not like anyone can access the things from Azure Key Vault. So that is also there. So authentication, authorization is also taken care, and it helps you to manage your secret in the Azure Key Vault. Now the similar service is there from HashiCorp. HashiCorp is another company which you might have heard of. Terraform. Terraform helps you to do the infrastructure as a code. We had a in one of our session in the series itself, we demonstrated Terraform. How do you do the infrastructure as a code using Terraform? So from the same vendor, Terraform is another software which helps you to do the infrastructure as a code. But from the same vendor, there is a service called HashiCorp Vault. HashiCorp is the company name. Vault is the product name, just like Terraform, which helps you to do similar things such as what Azure Key Vault helps you. Azure Key Vault definitely helps you to manage all the secrets. HashiCorp is kind of extending it a little bit further. It has a kind of a very nice integration with all the major cloud vendors and other softwares wherever you need access to. So HashiCorp Vault is another system which can help you. Now in terms of Azure DevOps, there is another option that you have, which is called secret variables. So in Azure DevOps, you can create variables and you can set them as secret. So when you create an Azure DevOps pipeline, there you have an option where you can create variables. Now, when you create a variable in a very simple way, it is still not secret. It is, available. Anyone who can see the pipeline, who does have access in the organization to see the pipeline, they can go there and they can, they can see the value that you have provided in the variable, in a normal variable. But there is a lock icon in front of every variable that you define. And if at all you put that lock there, this variable becomes a masked information. No one can see that. And also when pipeline runs and whenever this variable is being used, the secret variable is used, it will be masked. It will not be available in the logs as well. So no one can see that in log. No one can see that in pipeline run. No one can see that in the pipeline as well. It is only, you can only see that. Well, not only see that, actually, you can only use it during the pipeline run. So this is also one of the option you can select. And then of course, this is security certificate. Security certificate is like, just a certificate. You can create self-signed certificate or certificate authorized by some C authority, which can give you that, and then you can host that certificate to exchange the authorization or authentication. So you can have your certificate hosted on a server, and then you can give a certificate, the public certificate, to someone whosoever can, these people can exchange a certificate and find out that whether they are permitted to kind of access the the resources or not. So you can have a public private certificate, where public certificate will be available to everyone, private certificate will be only available to people who are supposed to access the service. So public certificate can see, you can see that, but you need to have combination of these two, then only you'll be able to see that. You can manage your certificate in Azure Key Vault. So you can have certificates and then you can host it in the Azure Key Vault, and then you can refer Azure Key Vault to provide those certificates to the services as and when it is required. So certificate is also one of the very widely used way to kind of manage the secrets or manage the authentication information in that particular, in a very proper way. The next thing is develop security and compliance. When this is more or less related to, kind of a DevOps, where you need to define your dependency, you need to evaluate how your dependencies are working. So for example, you have a pipeline, in this pipeline, your software, you have a main code which is .NET. Now in the .NET, there is a library, a library, which is coming from a open source world. It was developed by someone else, it was hosted on GitHub or somewhere, and your developer just took it and then put it in your main application, and your pipeline is supposed to build it. Now when you are building a software, so this is your main application, and a part of it is coming from an open source community, a package, a kind of a open source package, you can call it. Now as a DevOps organization, you should be aware of these things, and you should be scanning, you should be having the detail what kind of packages are coming into your I mean in your main application. At times what happens is that many times what happens is that a developer working on a particular thing, suppose a developer is supposed to develop a main program, it is a main software that you are supposed to develop. Now in this main program, they supposed to, suppose for example, I'm just giving an example, they are supposed to do encryption. Now when they are supposed to do this encryption, they have two choices. One choice is that they will implement the complete code, end to end. They will implement the complete encryption algorithm with the complete C#, .NET, JavaScript, whatsoever code, and they will have that will be part of their main application. But they come across something which is on the open source. It is hosted on a GitHub, and there they have said that, okay, boss, you just get this particular package, and in this package you have a function which calls encryption, and you just call this function and you get your job done. You don't really have to write the entire thing. This is called, package. You have this package, in this package you have a function which can be reused. Of course, from the productivity point of view, it looks good, right? It is kind of, you don't really have to, write the entire algorithm, where you just focus on, as a developer, on your business logic. You don't really have to worry about this particular, process. And at times what happens is developer get tempted, and then they take it and they use, you know, encryption, and they use this function here and they do their work. Somehow this encryption package is coming from an open source community, now it becomes a kind of a dependency for your organization. It might have some security vulnerability. It might not be, it might be coming from an organization which is not supported at all in your organization because of compliance, because of regulatory. For example, this open source package is coming from a, a kind of a countries from where a lot of, security things are being highlighted, and that way your, your organization actually do not support those kind of packages. Or it might be a package with a kind of a license that is also comes into picture. A license which is something, some license like GPL, which is restrictive GPL license, and your organization does not support any package which comes with this license. They will say, okay, I will support but we will not take anything which comes with this license, even though it is open source, but we are not going to take it. There are, things which needs to be discussed, then only we can consider. Now, because of all these reasons, licenses, security vulnerabilities, you need to have a dependency scanning process in place, so that if at all some developers, take some open source package, your CI/CD pipeline, you know catches it. Now for that, there is one more thing. Now suppose this package has been done, you have done the package, and you have picked this particular thing. There can be a lot of, scenario which needs to be taken care. And let me, delete this one, and let's talk about the points. The first thing is security, right? So when package is coming, that package code itself might be vulnerable, might be having vulnerability. It might not be written in a secure way. It might not be written, written by a verifiable source. It can have some few things which is not exposing the information. So all those security scanning you're supposed to do. Next is container scanning. Many times when organization, nowadays, containerization is coming into lot of software development practices, and during containerization, what you do is you take a base image, and on top of it you add certain things and you create a container. Now think of it, if your base image itself has some issues, base image can be taken from anywhere like Docker Hub, and anyone can publish the publish their image in Docker Hub. Now suppose your developer, your software developer, infrastructure developer, whosoever it is, who are supposed to package this Dockerized image, are are referring a base image which is which is published by someone whom you cannot verify. So if you go to Docker Hub, you can publish your images as well. You don't really need a special privilege or something. Anyone can publish it, and then anyone can use it. So a developer, suppose, thinks that, okay, this base image looks fine for my, for my requirement, and he just picks it, and then he start using it. He adds certain things. He adds his layers. We call it layers, right? He adds his layers of application code, you know some customization, some configs or whatsoever, and then creates his container image. That is, container image of app whatsoever, app A or B or whatsoever. Now this app A incidentally also have this base image, and now suppose this base image itself has problem, similar to what we discussed about dependencies, package dependencies. This is also a package dependency. So you need to have a strategy for your container scanning as well. You need to scan your containers if there are any base images which should not be there. If at all there are few images which are exposing some secret information, which are leaking the memory, or which are accessing certain privileged processes on the host. There can be a number of things from the security point of view. We have already discussed about open source aspect of it. You need to scan your packages from the security point of view as well as open source point of view. What licenses are there? Who are the publisher? What version you are using. So it might be that this is coming from a verified publisher like Microsoft, Google, but this package is, the developer who is using the package is quite old. Suppose they are using like 1.6 version, and it might be possible that, the whosoever is the publisher, Microsoft or whosoever it is, they have already released a 2.8, so it is too old in terms of version. And it might be possible that right now in current date this 1.6 can be considered as a vulnerable. This is a security issue. This might be having a security. So when they upgraded this 1.6 to 2.8, they must have done some improvement in terms of various things. So security might be one of the things. So not only the publisher ID, you might have to look for the version number as well, that what version right now developer is using and what is the latest version which is available. If the developer version is too old, then it is definitely a security vulnerability for your system, even if this package is a approved one. Even if it is coming from an approved vendor like Microsoft, then also if it is a very old, too old, then it has to be kind of it has to be upgraded, it has to be changed, it has to be taken care. Source code scanning. Not only from the security point of view, you may have to scan your source code for various reasons. You might want to scan your code from the quality point of view, right? How, what is the quality? What is the, the best practices are being used or not during coding? What is the test coverage of your code? So if you are following a test driven development in your organization, then you might want your code to have all the code covered with test scenarios. So what are the, test, they have written, if developer have written test or not. If not, is it just the, the code he has written, which is a functional code, but from the quality point of view it is not meeting up, because quality says that you must be having the corresponding test as well. And actually, from the test driven development approach, you first have to have the test, then only you should be starting the development. Quality can include best practices, can include syntax, can include many organizational levels practices, can include test, can include so many other things which you may want to scan in your code, so that you can define, okay, these are the things which are already there. So you may have to look at those things, and there are tools which can help you. Some of the tools that we are highlighting, one of the tool is Sonar Cloud or Sonar Cube. So Sonar Cloud is just Sonar Cube software as a service version. Sonar Cloud or Sonar Cube can help you to scan your code during CI/CD. So you can set up these tools in your CI/CD pipeline, and and we have done a demo in one of the previous session in the same series. So if you go through one of the session in past of AZ-400 done by us, then you will see that we have demonstrated how you can use Sonar Cloud in your CI/CD pipeline in Azure Devops, so that you can scan your code, you can see what are the code, I mean how many tests are there, what is the code quality and all those things. So Sonar Cloud or Sonar Cube is one of the industry leader in the code scanning. They support a lot of languages, C Sharp, C plus, many languages, Python, Node, JavaScript languages, and all those things. They support many languages. So you can start using that to scan your code. Another tool is White Source Bolt. So this is a tool which can scan your open source uh, software components in your CI/CD, I mean in your software, and you can set up it during CI/CD pipeline. And this is our demo today. We are going to show you how do you integrate White Source Bolt in the CI/CD pipeline in Azure DevOps. Sanjeev is going to show this particular aspect so that you can scan open source component in your software. There, in GitHub, there is a feature
that can help you to look at the dependency graph of your package if you have hosted in GitHub. So if you are using GitHub to host your application code, then GitHub has inbuilt system and which you can enable it. The moment you enable it, it can scan your code for dependencies, and it can even alert you for any dependencies issues that might be happening in your system. So if first of all, when you enable it, it will scan all the dependencies. What are the dependencies there? What packages you are using, which package is dependent on which package, and all those things. Very tree like structure. You can see that, okay, you have a main program. In main program, you're using A, which is coming from an open source, which has 1.6 version. And then A itself is using some B package, which has 1.8 version. And then B is also inherently using C package, which is coming from some other vendor, and it is something like 2.3. Now, if at all any one of them has some vulnerability, GitHub can give you an alert that, boss, this 2.3 is actually should be 2.8. It is using 2.3 and which has a security vulnerability, or it can be on the highest level as well. It can be like, 1.6 should be 2.9 or something like that. So this kind of dependency graph you can see in, GitHub. If you enable this feature in GitHub, it is freely available. You can go there, you can enable it if you are using GitHub or in your organization. The next thing is Git Hooks. Git Hooks are also a way to help you to kind of do some kind of validation on the client side. So Git Hooks are inbuilt feature of Git, which gives you kind of when you go through your Git repository, there you will find a .git folder. It is a hidden folder. So if your system does not have hidden folder visible option, then you need to enable that option. File system, you just need to enable that view hidden folders. The moment you see the hidden folder, you will see git. In the Git folder, you will see, the hooks option, Git hooks. In the Git hooks, there are sample script. Actually, they are shell script. And these script can be customized for an event. So suppose, someone is doing a commit. You can write a script. You can add certain things, certain custom logic here, so that as soon as they will commit, first of all, as soon as this commit event will happen, someone is committing in the repository, then this script will run. And you can have your custom logic here that, okay, you can verify the commit message. You can verify certain things in the code. You can do n number of things using shell scripting, and you can automate and you can kind of do validation then and there itself. So that it does not, go with some suppose in your organization you have a particular way of defining commit message, you can implement that. Or suppose when a push is happening, you need to add certain files, certain configurations, certain things with the push. You can define a logic there in that particular push event hook, and then that can help you to automate that process. So you can do the validation, which is part of security, or you can do some custom logic as well. The next part is Kovasp, which is also, which is acronym for Open Web Application Security Project. This is a project, you can search it, OWASP. This is a project which is a kind of a open source, or you can say a community, industry project, where they define top 10 issues in security. So they define security issues such as injection. So what kind of injections can be done in a web application? What kind of, authentication can, how the authentication can be broken in a web application? How, what are the various ways a sensitive data can be exposed from a web app? So there are top 10 issues All right. Those top 10 issues, they call it OWASP top 10. There are top 10 categories which are most common across web applications in terms of security. So whenever you go with a security audit or with a security scan, this OWASP top 10 is one of the most uh, required validation that they do. You need to comply with OWASP top 10 issues, I mean top 10 categories, so that they can validate that these issues are not valid in your case. This is valid for web application, as the name suggests, open web application, right? So this is also possible. There are tools in Azure DevOps which you can integrate in your CI/CD pipeline to scan top 10 OWASP issues, open web application security project issues. So you can add that, those extensions, or you can implement your custom scripts or custom logic as well to validate OWASP issues, so that if at all some issues are there, some OWASP related issues, like your application is vulnerable to injections, SQL injections, LDAP injections. If if your web application is exposing certain type of sensitive data, right? When user is opening a web page, the web page have certain hidden information which is exposed. If someone is opening the source code of the web page, it might be showing some of the when the transfer is happening from the server to the client's system, the deserialization process might be not secure enough that anyone can look into the packets and can actually uh, deserialize it and see the information before it goes to the client, or any kind of issues that can be listed on the OWASP top 10. And if it is happening, then your pipeline should be detecting it. And there are tools which can help you in that. And that is what this scanning process can help you with. Azure DevOps has certain tooling. Certain toolings, you may have to go with some third-party tooling, some monitoring software or something. Or in some cases, you might have to implement your custom logic to scan OWASP issues. The next part, which is design governance enforcement, which is not really kind of a a big slide here, but important one. Governance means that when you have a setup, infrastructure setup, whether you are setting up with Azure pipeline or you are doing it with a typical Azure portal way or whatsoever, you need to manage what can be created, what cannot be created, who can create it, who cannot create it. If something is getting created, what are the things should be prerequisite? If those prerequisites are not there, should I deny? Should I allow? Should I allow, but first create those prerequisites before, for example, you say that if you are creating a web app, you must be having a virtual network. I'm just giving an example. Or you might be saying that when you are creating a Azure virtual machine, you must be creating with a managed disk. I mean managed disk in premium or standard. It can be any combination. So when you are creating a virtual machine, you have to comply with that prerequisite. If you are not complying with prerequisite, I will take some action. Either I will fail that, or I will allow it, but with a warning or with an audit where I will be auditing it. Okay, so and so user, we have notified that. Okay, so and so and user have created an Azure virtual machine without managed disk in the premium category, and we have allowed it. But we have the audit data so that we can validate. Okay, how many deployment has happened in this way, and so that we can actually monitor, or we can fail it straightforward. We are not going to allow it. Or we can, deploy that. What we can do is, the moment Azure VM is getting deployed, that time first I will deploy the managed disk, and I will say that this is the managed disk. It should be used with the virtual machine or anything like that. In such kind of scenarios, Azure Policies is a thing which can help you. Azure Policy is a Azure based governance feature which is defined in a JSON format. So just like ARM template, it is also, Azure Resource Manager template only in a JSON format, but it is, the syntax will be different than typical resource deployment ARM template. So it can be defined in a JSON file, or you can directly go to the portal and you can create the policies, and behind the scene they will also create the JSON only. But yes, you might not be required to know those details from the portal. But yes, if at all you want to do the infrastructure as a code kind of thing with Azure Policy, yes, you can do that. You can create your JSON template, you can set up a CI/CD pipeline, you can deploy that in Azure, and then those policy will be applied. And using those policies, you can define things in Azure. It is Azure Policy. It is not, some other policy. Azure Policy helps you define the governance in the Azure. Similarly, you need to manage the subscription as well. So you need to have the way Azure Policy can help you in that as well. So you can set up, you can define the Azure Policy on the subscription level, so that anything happens in that subscription should be, should be validated across, with the policy that has been defined on the management level, on the subscription level. But apart from that, you also have to have the strategy for, you know, for RBAC rules, who are getting accesses, who are, who are the administrator, what groups have what kind of access, what types of service principal you are creating. All those things should be organized properly, so that, how are things happening in subscription. And that is how you can define the subscription and you can manage your subscription. Policy is one thing. Apart from it, managing it properly with Azure AD is also a thing you should be considering when you are talking about subscription management. Apart from Azure Policy and RBAC, there is one more aspect you need to think about, is cost management. So when you have a subscription, definitely subscription has a kind of a cost associated with it. Whenever you create a resource, a web app, VM, data disk, storage account, whatsoever you create that has associated cost, you need to manage the cost properly. What what kind of subscription it is? It might be a sandbox subscription. Then you might want to set up a budget for it. So if you are familiar with the subscription management cost, management in the subscription, you go there and, you know you can manage the budget, you can manage the alerts. As and when subscription is exceeding some limit, you can set up an alert which can send you an email and you can further look into it. We have discussed about it in our AZ-104 and AZ fundamental training. Definitely, to see these things in action, I will highly recommend you to go through those discussions. But from the strategy point of view, from the design point of view, you must be looking at those aspects when you are looking into the DevOps kind of culture, establishing DevOps kind of culture in your organization. You must be aligning with your Azure architects to set up these things, so that governance can be applied properly when you are deploying things in an automated way, using infrastructure as a code, using all those things. The last thing is break the glass approach. We have discussed about having a proper authentication and authorization, uh, uh, setup, strategy, design, all those things. But you should be also having, just like, there was a discussion like just in time, and that is part of Azure AD PIM, Privileged Identity Management. The first slide. There we talked about just-in-time access. As soon as you need it, you get it. Now, break the glass approach is that sometime you might not be allowing, in a normal scenario, you might not be allowing certain access by default to people, even to the administrator, even to the to the root level users. You might not be allowing by default. What you do is you give them a just in time access kind of rule, where if administrator level person, privileged person, administrator, root user, global administrator, they need to have a very privileged access for a certain period of time because of certain issues in production, certain issues to fix it for the time being, all those things. You need to follow a break the glass rule where they will just get that access, that privileged access, that highly privileged access for the time being. They will break the glass, they will get the things done, and then the access will be removed automatically just in time. This is what the break the glass approach comes. You have seen that fire extinguisher people, as and when the emergency situation comes in, they will break the glass, get the tools, start working on it, and then things will be restored back. This is the approach should be applied during the governance as well. So when you are designing your governance in the cloud, when you are defining all the accesses, there will be certain scenarios where you must have a very high privilege, highly critical privilege access to do certain action. Now you have to define, how do I do that? Do I need to give it to a person permanently, some global administrator, some very critical person? At that moment, you should not be giving a permanent access. You should be making use of something like Azure AD PIM, which gives you a just-in-time access, which gives you a very, any kind of privilege for the time being, and then the person can get the things done. And that way, you define the governance in that way, and that is something which helps you to manage your infrastructure for any kind of criticality or any kind of situations requiring any kind of access at that moment. Having said that, this is what we have discussed so far, and now we will be taking a break for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, we'll be coming back, and Sanjeev will be helping us with the lab. In the lab, Sanjeev will be helping us with the setting up the open source, how you can validate the open source security and license using white source bolt in a Azure DevOps pipeline. So there he will be walk us through white source bolt. He will trigger a build and he will show us the report where, how does a white source bolt report looks like and how do you manage that. And then after that, we will be having a quiz. And of course, the quiz will be, we'll be sharing the quiz URL. There you can participate and then you can enter the chance to win the vouchers. We will be also announcing the winner of previous session. So those people who have participated in the session last time, well, the last session, we will be announcing the winner out of those participants in the in the end of the session. So having said that, let's wait for 10 minutes. Let's go for a break for 10 minutes, and then after 10 minutes we'll be coming back and we will be going for a we will be talking about those demo, quiz and all those things. So let's go for a break and come back with the demo.
All right. Sanjeev, you there?
Yeah.
Yeah, please go ahead and take control
Yeah.
and share your screen.
Thank you, Ashish. Morning, guys. So I'll take you through the how to integrate white source Bolt with your pipeline. So it will be a simple lab. It's not like it's not a time-consuming lab. So we will be just looking into the aspect of what is white source Bolt and how to integrate it with your repository pipeline. So if I will explain like white source Vault, it's it scans through your code and it manages your open source usage. And white source Vault is the free extension which gives by the white source team. So it gives you the real-time alerts and security vulnerabilities on your code. And once you add it, it's a simple extension available on Visual Studio Marketplace. You can just add it to your organization, then you can use it in your pipeline. So the link for the white source Bolt, if you will go to the Visual Studio Marketplace to search for the white source Bolt extension, you will get the extension into your organization. I have added it into my organization. So I think Access has covered a lot of topic like what is the white source port and what it gives. But I will give a real-time example like how the white source Vault dashboard looks like and what feedback it gives. It normally gives you like it gives a lot of things like if your codes are vulnerable to SQL injection or if you are using any outdated version of a software or open source application. Like even if you are using, I think Assist covered this thing a lot. Like even if you are using the Microsoft application into your Microsoft package in your application, there might be time that it has been outdated and there is some vulnerabilities into the Microsoft application. They found it later and solved it later. If I'll give you an example, recently the Microsoft Exchange Server hack happened. So they provided an update on top of that. If you are using that old version of that Microsoft Exchange Server, then still you are vulnerable to the new hack which happened. So you need to upgrade it to the latest version. So that's where your these white source Vault scanning and these things will help an organization to grow and to secure their application. So if you go to the marketplace and to add the extension, it will be available to your organization in the Azure Devops. So I have a repo here over here, simple Java repo, and I have like a pipeline. So if I go to the pipeline and edit it, I like that. I'm not going to cover how to create the pipeline and how to, because we have covered it 2-3 times during our last phases of the training, where we have created the pipeline. Even in the last session, I think we have added the Sonar Cube to a pipeline. So I'm not going to cover how to add it. It's just like you create a pipeline, you add a task over here. If your white source Vault is added to your organization and if you search it, you will get the white source Vault over here. You try to add it. When you add it, it will be like this, and you need to just uh, which working directory you want to use. You just use that, and it will be added to your application. In this application, I have my npm installed, and I have my Maven to like this npm installed to just to download the package. Then I have the Maven to build my Java application the way we use it in Visual Studio. We use the Visual Studio to build our .NET package. The Maven is also a tool to build the Java packages. So, and then we have the white source Bolt extension which we have added. Then we have these two for the copy files and publish artifacts to the to publish the build. So this is a simple pipeline which we have. We will try to run this pipeline and see how the build looks like. Let's see. That is running. It will take some time to build the application and
So it's a typical build process where build is
yeah.
happening, right? So and then white source bolt is about to trigger. The next step is white source bolt. What will happen is that as soon as code will be reaching to the white source bolt task, white source bolt will scan and will publish a report based on the packages it will detect. So it will soon, let's wait for some time to build it, and then it will read or scan the entire package in that task, and then we will be able to see what kind of report it shows you. And then right now we are going to use a free version of white source bolt. So white source bolt is, basic features are free, but they also have a paid plan. If you use the paid plan, then you will be getting some more features, some more detailed report will be available to you.
Yeah, it will take around 4 to 5 minutes to build for the entire build process. So let's wait for that, and we'll check how the white source bolt dashboard looks like.
Okay, yeah, some of the people are okay. complaining about audio. Okay, maybe it is. Yes, Sanjeev, audio is not clear. Yeah.
I'm having audio issue.
Yeah, audio is fine. It is kind of a no, not really very clear. Yeah, we'll work it out. We will check what is the reason, and then in next session probably we'll work it out.
Okay, sure. I'll look into that.
So for all the audience who feel like audio is not clear, I will suggest to rejoin. I checked the audio for Sanjeev and Ashish, both is clear. If anyone is facing any audio issue or a presentation issue, just try rejoining this meeting again.
And actually, well, while this build is working, we are not speaking at all. So you might be thinking like, because it's process will take some time, its own time.
Yeah, so meanwhile, Ashish, we can announce this thing once again that this AZ-400 for this AZ-400, this is our final session today, and our next session would be AZ-204 for developer track. So all those people who wish to learn that AZ-204 and want to appear for the exam, they can go and register for that particular track from the registration link, that is azureeasy.com/az-204.
Yes, I have posted
And
the link in the chat
yes,
as well.
yes. So the link is available in the chat window, and I think the session would be starting from 24th of April. Am I right, Ashish?
Yes, I mean it is. Yeah. It will be starting 24th of April, and there will be, there will be sessions, sequence of sessions. Each session will be covering a particular module of this exam. And if you are planning to have AZ, the badge, DevOps badge, and if you do not have Azure, administrator or developer, then definitely I will highly recommend that join our session. And we already have AZ-104 session recording on our YouTube channel, so of course you can watch that to prepare for AZ-104. Let me post the YouTube channel link here and join us in this track for getting hands-on training on AZ-204. So this is our YouTube channel, Azure Talk. All our session, all our learning material is also available using our community developed bot based on Telegram. So if you want to get information on demand, you can simply join us. I mean, open this bot, which is our community bot, developed by us, and you will find the command to access information related to various sessions we have done in past, including we will be using this bot to send you all the informations, all the important information in future, such as next events, recording URL, winners of the session, and all those things. Whatever the community engagement we are going to have. Okay, Sanjeev, you are there?
Yeah. So I think you see my pipeline has run successfully, and if you go to the pipeline summary page, you will see that there is one dashboard called White Source Bolt Build Report. If you go there, it will show you like the high vulnerabilities code, like with the description, and it will recommend what to do. So this normally this is the dashboard looks like for the white source code. and it gives you all the which are more vulnerable and which are medium. So these things, it gives you a nice uh, overview. Like here we are using the GPL license. I think Ashish talked about it, that if we are using GPL license which is not being recommended by your organization, then it should be flagged. So white source is flagging that. So that's where it gives you all the information. Then it shows you as I talked about and Ashish talked about, the outdated library information. Like if we are using some old libraries which are not being recommended by the providers because they have given a new library. So then this is the information it gives you, and by looking at this report, we can ask concerned developer to upgrade all these things and fix these things. So this is the major thing White Source Vault gives you. I think yeah, that's it from my side. I don't think anything more is there in the White Source Vault. And if you are a large organization, then you should go for the premium subscription of White Source. This is the White Source Vault, is the lightweight free version from the White Source team. Yes, I think that's it from my side.
All right. So
Yeah.
okay. So thanks Sanjeev for the demonstration. Okay, let me take the control back and let me share my screen. All right. So okay. Now we are going to host our quiz. Now in the quiz, we will be having the the winner in the 24th of April. That is the next month, when we will be announcing 204 you know winners. That's when we are going to, I mean, 204 session. That's when we are going to announce the winner of this quiz. We will be connecting with the winners with the email address as well. So it is not that you join the session then only you get the, you will become the winner. We will be selecting the winner and then we will be announcing them during the session. And then we will be connecting those people with their respective email ID that you will be providing in the quiz that we are going to share with you now. You can also register for the next session, as we have been keep on saying this just to kind of you can say marketing material. I mean, it's kind of a broadcast. We are trying to share as much we can so that everyone is aware of this session, because it's going to be a very different session altogether. We have not seen anyone doing developer end-to-end session so far in the community. So we are coming with this particular idea, and definitely we are looking forward to help people and learn together in this particular track as well. Now, this is the quiz URL. You just scan this QR code or open this link q.azureeasy.com/az400. It will open a Office 365 form which has the questions. You need to provide all the questions, all the answers in that quiz, and submit it with your email ID, your name, and your organization name. Please provide the email ID, all the information correctly. Your email ID will be the one through which we will be connecting you for the vouchers. Your organization name will be shared with Microsoft so that it gets the visibility that whatever the learning you are going through, definitely it will be shared with the Microsoft, because all the support that we are going from Microsoft in terms of vouchers, Microsoft also wants to know that how people are using it, what kind of, what organizations are, participating in these communities where Microsoft is helping, people without any any kind of marketing or any kind of payment or something. So it's very completely free, communities driven, but at the same time Microsoft also wants to know who are people getting benefited.
You can also visit this URL azureaz.com/azure skills-feb21. This there you need to update your skill on LinkedIn and you need to submit your profile there. You may enter a giveaway where Microsoft will give you a Surface Go laptop. So it's a really nice challenge which you can participate. So after going through our quiz, I will definitely recommend you guys to go through this link and open this and go through the update process of LinkedIn profile with your skills. Let's go for it. We will be opening this URL for next 10 minutes. So this will be open for next 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, the URL will be disabled and you won't be able to participate in the quiz. So please make sure you enter the answers within 10 minutes. So I have also posted the URL in the chat. So if you're not able to open it, you can directly click on it and it will open the quiz in the form. After this quiz, we will be also announcing the winner of the previous session. So, after, completing the quiz, please stay with us and we will be, announcing the winner of the quiz that we hosted last session.
So just to let all the audience know, like you have 5 minutes left for this quiz. In just next 5 minutes, quiz link will be disabled, so be fast. I can see a lot of people have done. Few are still doing. Be quick. This link will be disabled in next 5 minutes. So now it's next 4 minutes now. Two more minutes available for this quiz. In next 2 minutes, this quiz link will be disabled. So this quiz link is about to disable now, and I thanks everyone and appreciate all the participants who appear for this quiz. Now it's over to you, Ashish. You can go ahead.
All right, so let's go ahead and announce the winner for the previous session. And let me open the wheel. So these are the people who participated in the previous session, and we are going to select these people based on the lottery system. So we are just going to move the wheel and we will be getting one of them, and we will just select one of them from there. So let me start the spin and let's see who is the first one. Okay, so Gitika Sharma is the first winner. So we are going to copy this and keep it in our repository. We will soon connect with you, Gitika, for the voucher information on this email ID. So let me remove it. Let's go ahead on the second one. Okay. So Vishnu Kiran Reddy. Okay, so this is the second winner. You'll be connecting with these guys on these emails, and we'll be sending the vouchers on these email ID. A similar kind of thing will be happening for all the people who participated in today's quiz. And Raj Kumar, removing it. So this is the third. Okay, Ramesh. So this is the fourth. And we are going to select the this is fifth, Poonam. And this will be the last one. All right, so this is Pankaj. So we will be connecting these winners in the last, in upcoming days. I mean, in next 1 or 2 weeks, and we'll be sharing all the details of vouchers that you can take exams. So now coming back to our slides, we are almost done. We will just talk about community for a bit, and then we'll be kind of. So this is, your speaker today. I'm an Ashish myself. You can connect with me and Sanjeev if you want to on LinkedIn. You can also check out our Azure Talk, Azure Devops Pro, uh, Telegram group. There you can find more than 10,000 people in Azure Talk and more than 3,000 people in Azure DevOps Pro. You can post any type of DevOps question, real-time issues, any kind of questions are welcomed. And we also, core team members are also very active there. So we try to help, we try to learn together, and we try to help as a community. You can also, as said, you can also register for the next session that is going to be happening for AZ-204. We are working out on the content, and be sure that it will be very much quality content that we are going to present so that you can prepare for this next exam as well. So far we have covered AZ-900, that is fundamental. We have covered AZ-104, Azure administration. By the today's end of the session, today is the final session in AZ-400. We have been able to successfully complete AZ-400 Azure DevOps certification track entire training. Now we are going to start the AZ-1204, which is Azure Developer. Similar kind of training we are planning in upcoming days for different tracks like Azure Architecture, security, and all other things we are planning to do. We are also going to open the forum for speakers, so please join our Telegram group. We are going to post details where if you want to contribute to the community, if you want to host some session,
you are definitely more than welcome there. We will be, putting the details in our, Telegram group. You can go through the details and then you can nominate yourself, and we will help you, or we can, we can work together to do these kind of sessions together, where our core team will try to help you with the things that we are trying to do with other members. And at the same time, you will also get a platform where you can share your knowledge, and you can help the community to learn together. Having said that, good night, good evening, good day ahead, and let's meet again in the next session. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you so much for helping us and supporting us in all these events. Thank you and have a good day. Yep, bye bye.